know, some people call your generation Generation Screwed. Is it? Well, it's an easy enough question to ask, but as we found out during our visit to Vancouver this week, answers vary. We hit the road because we wanted to talk to young people in person about the education they're getting and the future they are facing. And we went to a great place to hear their thoughts. The University of British Columbia is a magnet for people from all over Canada and from all around the world. More than 50,000 students are enrolled in the Vancouver and Okanagan campuses, trying to make a better future for themselves. At a time when education is so expensive and career opportunities so hard to come by, it's their present and future we're looking at tonight.
Well, to be honest, it was kind of just the path that was expected of us.
That was always the plan. You do high school, you do university, you get a job.
My parents really want me to get a higher education.
All my friends are doing it.
So for me, there really was, really no other option.
I've learned a lot, and I'm definitely ready to get out into the working field. It's a mix of excitement, optimism, and nervousness.
When you're graduating, the first question that everyone asks you is, so what are you doing after?
No doubt about it, it's that time of year again. Blossoms on trees and a rite of passage unfolding on campus. But as if exam time wasn't daunting enough, more than ever, students are facing tough questions about their futures. A university education may be a launch pad, but to what? It's why we came here to UBC to ask you, the students, what's the value of your degree? Where's it taking you? And at what cost, literally?
It's really expensive going here. It's very stressful to know that I'm going to be on student loans soon.
I live off campus. I live in the student ghetto. I live in Kitsilano with 3, sometimes 4 people in a very small basement. Cheap. Just to save money.
At the moment, I'm actually still working 40 hours a week, even though I'm in a graduate program. That's not recommended, but I think that's the reality of living here.
Well, I do have $31,000 of student debt right now after 5 years of my undergraduate degree. And for my post-grad degree, I also will be taking on more debt.
The real world is very, very close.
Meet 20-year-old Morgan Yee. The real world about a year away when she graduates with a degree in social work. Until then, she embraces university life, soaking in volunteer work at the campus radio station. But she is stretched. University comes with a lot of bills, of course, so she has a part-time job at a group home. And since she's from northern BC, she's had to find affordable housing close to school. What's more affordable than living with her grandparents? So I guess university was always the dream, right?
Yeah, that was always the plan. So even in high school, I was thinking about how you're going to pay for it, where you're going to live. And luckily, I have my grandparents here in Vancouver. Right. So it was sort of a toss-up between staying on campus and spending all the money right then, or staying with my grandparents and having it be a lot easier.
How does it break down? What does that save you?
It saved me about, for first year, I think it would have been about 9. I think it's about 9 to live on campus.
1,000.
Yeah. So it saved me that there, and then each year after that, I mean, it's going to be close to that.
What's tuition?
Tuition for me, first 2 years was about between 5 and 6, and this year I think it was $750 because I was taking a couple extra courses.
You ever get stressed out about all this?
Yeah. Yep. I definitely find that sometimes going through bank statements is like, oh, that was much more than I should have spent. First year coming down here, like with school payments and then just like spending money, and I was like, oh, there's stuff to do down here in Vancouver. And I went through money very quickly. It was like, oh, you can't do that.
So what's the biggest challenge for you been?
The biggest challenge was definitely like the first year of getting used to not being on campus, and like I do feel like I missed out a lot.
Tell me what you missed.
I've never lived with a roommate, so I've never had to experience that, and I do think that is a really valuable thing to learn how to do.
And I guess that is part of university life, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not all about the degree.
No, and that's what my mom, because my mom stayed on campus, my dad stayed with with my dad's parents. And so that was the two sort of opposing views, where mom's like, oh, it's a lot of fun, don't worry about the money, And dad's like,
Worry about the money.
Yeah, you worry about the money, you can stay with my parents.
Some people call your generation screwed.
Yeah.
Is it?
I think that it's possible to not fall into that. I think that it's hard because that's not necessarily the way that society is pushing us right now. I think that society is definitely pushing us into having lots of debt, really struggling after university. University is really seen as you have to go now. Like if you don't go to either a trades program or university, not a whole lot. It's not perceived to be very many options.
A step back for a moment from the millennials like Morgan to the boomers. Just check out this archive video, UBC graduation ceremonies from generations ago. These past grads are actually part of the equation, factor into the future of today's grads. Back then, many got a degree, got a job, settled into middle-class life, and kept right on working. Meaning for students now, that same path isn't always a given. Squeezed out of the job market, some just stack up the degrees or simply move on to a plan B.
Oh yeah, I hear about that a lot. I hear everyone says about their degree, oh, you can't get a job.
It did become obvious that a university degree, especially an undergraduate degree alone, really isn't enough.
I think it really is changing. I feel like we're kind of pushing up this degree system of now you need this extra step to go get a job.
You can't just come out with one degree anymore. You have to have more.
So there is that credential inflation that's happening, that those are the standards that you have to meet.
On one half, it looks pretty dark and scary. On the other, it looks pretty bright. I do see a lot of people graduating with exactly what I have and not a lot of jobs in the industry.
Meet James Connell, originally from Calgary with ambition as wide as his grin. He graduates next month with a Bachelor of Science in Biology, but the smile belies the truth. He is stressed out. Applications for med school have gone unanswered, and at 26, he just wants to get on with it. His restaurant gig has been great, but if there's not more school, then at least he'd like a job in his field of study. Graduation coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Cap and gown, parents in the audience.
Yeah.
What's the dream?
To get into med school would be lovely, but pretty much anything at this point would be lovely.
That's the dream. What's the reality?
The reality is I'll be working in a restaurant for some time still. If I do want to do anything else other than med school, I need to find a researcher who would be interested in taking me on. I need to find a project that I'd be interested in doing.
But none of this was what you thought was going to happen.
Nope.
You go to university, you get your degree, you get good marks.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping someone would be waiting for me at the end of the line with a job.
You have to adapt.
Yes. It means I don't have a lot of pressure to do something right away, but I also kind of lose that fire, I find. I'm worried about losing the fire because I want to stay motivated for as long as possible.
Some people have described your generation as generation screwed, right?
Yeah.
Is it?
I think it depends on who you're talking to. When it comes to the debt, when it comes to the amount of debt that people are graduating with right now, on average, they're pretty screwed. And I think as far as job prospects go, you'll be what you make of yourself. You need ambition. No one's going to hand you anything.
A degree is a kickstarter to a career. If that tenet has taken some shots of late, well, more and more universities and students are taking shots back, taking advantage of co-op, incubator, entrepreneurship programs. No job, no problem. Not for some of this generation seeking to become masters of their own destiny.
So kind of if you want to work in your field of choice, it's almost like you have to make your own opportunity, which is exciting but also intimidating.
One of the projects I'm working on, which we call the Drill Cover Project, and it allows for safe, sterile procedures for orthopedic surgeons in low-resource countries.
It's just making these connections and starting a business is probably more accessible than ever for young people because we can find all the resources we need at a university.
I work for a company called Blue Perch, which I co-founded, and we're doing an app that finds you jobs. The support, just having the institutional support from the university is great to have somebody behind you. I would say that in the future, you're probably going to see more of it.
You know, we had an idea and then we found the right people. We put together a team, we had some funding. I think it's very different from what our generation is trying to piece together with maybe more contract work, maybe changing careers once every 1 to 2, maybe 3 years. So I think our expectations for what it means to be successful is a lot different than what it has been in the past.
For our generation, we've kind of come to a consensus that our life is going to start when we're 30.
I was just thinking, like, the way
Meet Kinsey Powell. The second-year commerce student sounds like she has it all figured out. Just 20 years old, she's already started her first venture, a clothing company. She runs right out of her apartment.
you would need to store like this quantity of shirts.
If she sounds in a hurry, she's not really. She calls this her training wheels business. Plans many more. Entrepreneurship is part of a long-term plan that starts right here at UBC. Okay, give me your pitch. Give me your 30-second pitch on Revolution.
So Revolution is a avant-garde by commission and private label apparel company. So we're inspired by TED Talks, Renaissance paintings. We produce on 100% organic cotton, all ethically sourced. And some of our designs, as you can see here, are direct-to-garment printed. So as opposed to being heat transferred, it's actually printed directly onto the shirt, which gives it a better feel, makes it last longer.
You're going to university. You're working crazy hours trying to get your marks down pat and graduate. And at the same time, you want to run a business. Now, is that all part? Does it work together?
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun, and it's a way for me to also apply what I'm learning in school, so it has meaning. When I'm sitting in accounting class going like, oh my gosh, who cares? I actually do care because it's something that I apply in my business every day. Or if I have a question, I can use the UBC network to get an answer. The goal is to hopefully do something after school with all the knowledge that I gained from classes as well as from running this business.
How does this make you different than previous generations?
I think this makes us different because we live in this kind of post-2008 world where anything's really possible. There's no rules as far as business goes, and I think that it makes us different because we don't want those 9-to-5 jobs where we're not being fulfilled. We're driven by passion as opposed to paychecks, and I think that that's a very exciting place that can lead to a lot of value created not just financially but socially and environmentally and a lot of other factors that come into that.
So you're clearly not somebody who believes that this generation, your generation, is generation screwed.
We're generation different. Our life is starting, as opposed to starting at 20, now our lives are starting at 30. We're having kids later, we're getting married later. So we kind of have this time now to explore and really discover what our passions are and what we want out of life. And combining that with a career is the dream.
If there's one thing that's clear, even after a short visit here at UBC, it's that there are lots of dreams walking this campus, but lots of challenges too. So where do these students see themselves 10 years from now?
I still see myself in school in about 10 years. I actually want to try to get a master's degree and then go into a PhD.
If I would hopefully go for my PhD or master's. That's a lot more school, I guess.
In 10 years, I would like to be doing my own thing. I would like not to be an employee. In order to get there, I will have to work for a company that will teach me certain tangible skills.
I can't imagine myself owning a house in 10 years, to be realistic.
I may have to rent for a little while. I may be working for a little bit less pay. And I'm going to be working on something that I really care about so that it'll pay off in the long run.
That's my mood. Hopeful, but grounded in reality.